Bum bum ba bum bum ba ba bum bum ba bum bum ba. Hey, there's my slippers. Hey everybody, welcome to Z-Wing's Workshop. Now, the question today is this a very small shop or does this shop make me look big? No, that's not right. Is this a small shop or is this the world's largest junk drawer? Well, stay tuned and welcome to Z-Wing's Workshop. Oh, hey. This is a new gallon, by the way. You know, I was just thinking, you guys never actually got a tour around this shop before, so maybe I'm gonna tour it up for you. The problem is, the place is a friggin' pigsty, and I'm in the middle of a big project right now. So, it's gonna get a level 2 cleaning. Level 1 is gonna be the brooms. Level 2 is the leaf blower. I'll be right back. Well, now that level 1 is finished, it's time for level 2. All right, all fans on deck, except for one that's broken. They're all doing their thing. And I actually even went underneath the bench here and cleaned it up. So I'm calling it a level 3. You want to know what makes me mad? I just bought this fan. Well, not this fan, because the fan that I bought in the video lasted about 2 weeks. So I had to basically take the fan from my lower 3-fan system and swap it. Those fans over there are like 5 years old. The one that was like a month old, not even a month old of use, broke. So whatever. But you know, on a brighter side, I do not recommend buying anything at Harbor Freight that plugs into the wall, except for this. This is a little remote, and I've got basically my 3 fans set up to it. Dust collector on top, the fart fan for the receiver, and then that one controls this. And you can see what it does. A score for like 10 bucks. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's probably not great to do that. Let's just be honest. But it doesn't do a bad job. And you know what? I look at it this way. I'm giving the dust back to the earth. You know, it's the law of matter mainly. So it's all going back to the earth. And the stuff that I get off the street in the back of my house anyway is probably worse for me than the stuff I'm giving back to the street. So it is what it is. If you don't like it, it's all right. Put a mask on and you'll be just fine. All right, we're starting here. You guys saw my little sink area, and it's still working out really good. I keep a lot of garbage and junk underneath there. The leaf blower doesn't get to that corner very well, so it's all right. Here's that 3-fan system right next to it. This is obviously in the back side of the shop. Behind the magic curtain, you're not going to find the Wizard of Oz, but you're going to find just a lot of stuff that
sheets that I just kind of store back here. This thing with the blue tape all over it is basically a cart that I use for when I'm painting multiple doors, and it's basically a drying rack, or at least a storage rack, so I can do that. You can see there's another outlet, and all the way in the back, these are concrete squares, and you've probably seen me use those for weights. I keep them in the shop because if you ever need weight to obviously weight down stuff, those are about 20 pounds a piece, and I've got so many of them, and they work really good for that. And then you can see too, I've got this to just kind of keep stuff from tilting forward, but everything's off the ground a little bit as well, so this stuff doesn't get wet. Looks like I got some drywall in here. I've got a couple of sheets of stuff, Durarock obviously. A lot of this stuff is still going to be for the bathroom project that I'll eventually get to. But I keep this curtain here, obviously to keep it protected, and that way it prevents overspray. Keeps that back section a little cleaner. There's about 8 feet from wall to opening here. Then here is just my scrap lumber and cutoffs. And you're probably thinking,
oh my God, that's a great rack.
Thanks, it's from the Z. Ooh, wait a minute. I need this. I did say I had a big project going on, so let me kind of show you what it is. These are basically branches, well, so to speak. Tree branches I'm recreating, and I actually put little knots at the very ends of each branch. And I'm going to show you a picture when I had them set up on the bench, so you could kind of see what they do. And they're basically mounting to the top of this bookshelf, and it's for a library in Elwood, Illinois. And this is the headpiece that it was originally attached to on the bench. And then since I got all these fitted up nicely, I ended up mounting this to the top, and that's why it's all clamped. And I'll eventually declamp it tomorrow and give everything a final sand and stain. But just to let you know what's happening in the shop, I'm going to kind of stop for a second, and I'm going to kind of show you this crown molding. And you're going to think, oh, it looks just like normal crown molding. Well, has got to match crown molding. I'm doing a cabinet's over there, and I have to match obviously the doors, but I also need to match the crown molding. Now this looks like a normal traditional piece of crown molding, but it isn't, and I'll put it up with the piece that I started with. Now this piece, for all intensive purposes, look very similar, but when you take it to the actual scribe that I made of the existing trim, you can see it's not very close. I mean, it's close, but it's way off. So what do? Well, there's a cutoff of the finished profile, and it's reversed. But let me show you what it looks like when it's all matched up. And as you can see, it lines up pretty good. It's not 100% perfect. Doesn't have to be. This cabinet is actually on the other side of their kitchen, but I did want to make the crown molding match. But you can see I had to do it out of 6 different pieces. And I took a chunk of this, cut it right roughly around here to make the main body, because the arc matches up. Then the inside cove is actually this piece, but it's flipped around upside down. So I took a cut out of that, and the bottom of this crown molding now is that little shelf piece. I had to extend the bottom. This is deeper than obviously this was, so I had to extend the bottom, but it worked with that radius. Now I'm a hoarder, and I save even my weird offcuts when I'm 45ing stuff, so I was able to stick that little triangle in there and glue it all together. A little nose extension on the top piece. A lot of sanding, some planing, and all this and that, and it gives me the profile I need that matches up. That's an experiment that went right. Okay, moving on, I have my miter saw. This thing is old. I mean, it's older than my kid's old, and I've been using it for a long time. It's kind of beat up. It still works really good, still cuts square and true and all that good stuff, so there's really no reason to replace it. It is a Makita LS 1013. Now underneath it I have some other stuff. You can see I have some pass load nails because there's a pass load gun there. There's my planer, which I don't very often use. That yellow box was from levels and lasers that I had. So that's kind of where that goes there. Now underneath too, to the side, I've got a roller, dollies. There's actually a big dolly underneath that is the base for that setup. You can see there's 3 hoops, and it basically makes like a, not necessarily an A-frame, but like an E-A-frame in a way. In this cabinet too, I've got a bunch of old cordless tools that I don't use or have any use for anymore. And you know, one of my biggest things is I hate cordless tools. Cordless tools are a waste of money, and they are because I have so many sitting in this cabinet that are garbage. I like to invent stuff too, so if you're a short person or a child that needs small horses, try out some Tony's Ponies. Now as far as the lumber rack goes, it is basically just some DIY brackets that are mounted, and if I did a level 4 clean or even a level 5 clean, I would completely reorganize all this stuff. Unfortunately, it takes me forever to go through this, and it is what it is for right now. So continuing onward, under here is, well, this is the baseboard for the bottom of the wall there, but this is a lathe that I really have never used before. Somebody gave it to me. I just keep it covered up. Behind it, all this junk and mess is just more scrap sheets of half plywoods, some old doors, pieces of Durarock. There's another project I'm working on for my kitchen upstairs, eventually if I ever get to it. Then I got all the other fun stuff. Pull wire, bunch of spray bottles and clamps. Up above too, I keep more clamps. These are some of the everyday, normal, ready-use clamps that are just there. They fit so nice, I said I'm just leaving them there. I always had a thing for Pink Panther, and yeah, it's the Last Supper. The guy who owned the house had this here. I couldn't get rid of it, so it is what it is. Looking down on the bench here too, this is the laptop that runs the laser. I usually keep a towel over the laser, kind of keep it clean. My little paint sprayer that I use, just some miscellaneous metal and some other garbage in the back there. A lot of people would say, Tony, 90% of the stuff you have in here is garbage, and you're not wrong. It's just, you know, sometimes it's useful. This is what I call my tile section. Not that I like doing tile at all, but it is underneath the workbench. And what's cool about the workbench is, kind of swooping around here, this leaf is actually on hinges. So if I need, and everything here, the table saw, this bench, and this is, like I say, a leaf. And if I move this thing out of the way, which is also on wheels, this will actually fold down, and it'll give me extra room. So if I need to do a big gigantic project in here, which believe it or not I have done, I try not to do it, but if it's there when I need it, it's good to have the extra table space. But again, this does fold against the normal bench and gives me a little extra clearance. And then this is, I know I told you don't buy anything that plugs in at, you know, Harbor Freight, but that's what this is. It's a Harbor Freight dust collector. And then I've got this kind of like a catch can, but the exhaust, there's actually a mask, a Z95 mask that's underneath there, so it does filter out some stuff. You got the little cyclone filter dealie, and believe it or not, this thing works pretty good. So it does take up quite a bit of dust. Now, traveling onward to the table saw, I built this base for the table saw a couple years back, and I basically made a little section here for the router table. Now the router table, ooh, I know, Ryobi, is actually mounted to the table saw. I kind of have it like basically laid in here, and then the box underneath is, you know, kind of catching. But surprise, yeah, I know, it's a Harbor Freight. I needed something with a 1/2-inch collet. I didn't want to spend a lot of money, and it works sometimes when it's not smoking. Now the bottom of the base too is, you know, I kind of made it like this so I could keep some of my like little jigs and helpful little templates. And I actually have a few more up here as far as sleds go and cross cuts and fun stuff like that. But I took the old, this is a rigid TS3650. When I bought this, again, this is older than my kids. I bought this because it had a 36-inch rip fence, and to me that was like gold at the time. And you know, it was a nice little saw. It's worked really decent. I can't complain about it. I didn't like the base, so I ended up making this base. These little doors trap out, and then it allows me to get some dust collection in there, or at least kind of keep some of the dust contained. I keep some of the pieces here. I've got my little push block and then push sticks, and then I keep my little brush and dustpan here. Stepping back here, this is a trapdoor into the crawl space, and that's where the furnace lives. I have some lumber down there. We're not going to go down there. There's no point. Obviously, you saw me build the door a couple episodes ago, and you're probably wondering, how did the vestibule turn out after all that spraying? Well, you can see I still need some improvement, and I'm going to get in here with the shop vac a little bit, and I'll back this up. But the threshold underneath the sweep kind of busted up in the corner there, so it does help quite a bit. It's not 100%. I never thought it would be 100%. Here you go. I have my air compressor hose reel, and it basically gets fed to the compressor that is in my garage. So it's nice. I don't actually have to listen to it, but I have air anytime I need it. These now are just a few of my tool selection. A lot of it is from my grandfather. You know, you've probably seen like one of these cool sidewinder drills, and you know, these old school clamps. Everything works still good. Every now and again I get in here and I need something, so I kind of come over here. If not, they're just kind of cool to have and look at. I mean, look at this stuff, just neat. So I like having that in the shop. Going to the bandsaw. It's not a great bandsaw, but it was dirt cheap. I got it on clearance. It was like less than 200 bucks, and I used the shit out of it. So it's a score. My little drill press from Harbor Freight. Another deal that this thing's actually been a pretty good little trooper. So I like it. Works. This was from Menards. This disc always gets chewed up, and these I replace constantly. Then we just got a bunch of miscellaneous whatnots, tape measures if I need them. A lot of these are blank tape measure cores, and I keep them because I love the style of this tape measure. But what do you do when you don't have a tape measure? And they stopped making this actual, you know, body for this tape. So what I do is I'll buy a newer tape, and I'll take the core from the new tape and I'll put them into these. And just, you know, creature habit, guys. That's how it is. Underneath there too, you can see I have a bunch of these like little dealies. None of them are organized. They were at one point, but this would be like, you know, medium wood screws. I've got another one over there that sells tappers. Got one over here, nuts and washers. These louvers were from a project that I kind of started and then scrapped. I had to make different louvers, to be honest. And I don't know. I still got to find a use for these. A little bench grinder, no big deal there. Easy peasy. Now I talk about cordless tools. These are the only cordless tools I have in the shop. And you want to see battery? I got the one charger and a few batteries. That's it. So that's all anybody really needs. And I'm sorry if you want to complain and say, oh no, you need the entire Milwaukee pack-out system. No, you don't. Before you guys jump down on my neck about the whole cordless tool thing, again, I have power everywhere in this shop, and I work mainly in this shop. Now, I'm in the field every now and again, doing some installs, like when I'm going to have to install that, but you don't need anything more than this. You know, unless you're in a field doing new construction, maybe working on a farm, whatnot, you don't need anything more than these guns. And I mean, this is only a 12 volt. I've drywalled my entire house with this. I did every single piece with these. This is all you need. And just to show you too, that this was a tool, and I bought a whole rigid system. I bought tons of batteries. I bought a planer. I bought a drill, drills, hammer drills, saws, planers. The batteries are dead now. None of them work for anything. So it's like I bought all these tools and they're completely useless. Am I going to go back and completely re-spend more money on tools? Absolutely not. This is the only tool that I still kind of use. And you've probably seen this in the Z videos. And yes, you're going to say, hey, it's got a huge battery. Even though it's a 12 volt, I just got an 18 volt battery in here. But the trick is, it's not a battery. I actually hollowed it out, and yeah, that's a bunch of plywood. Because watch what happens. I took the Master Force batteries. I made an adapter. Now something else too, if tool manufacturers that make cordless tools, if they really cared about the consumer, they would make an adapter that you could take your battery and plug it into a frickin' outlet, and then that way it turns your cordless tool into a corded option if you need it. That way you're not waiting for a battery to charge. Tell me, please, why has no manufacturer done that? That's because they want you to buy more batteries, and they know when the battery tech dies, they're going to want you to buy the entire system all over again. And what do these companies do? They manufacture and they put their R&D into cordless stuff instead of doing it into corded options. And I'm sorry, I've fell for the scam. I'm not doing it again. Again, these are all you need. And they work just fine. You don't need a gigantic, 18 volt battery with a tiny little head like you see some of these impact guns. These are so much lighter, better ergonomics, just way better. That's 90% of what anybody needs. You guys don't need the fancy cordless pack-out stuff. And the guys that have the cordless grinders and the like cordless routers and sanders that run all day long. I love seeing a cordless sander and it's hooked up to a friggin' vac system. It baffles the mind. The only cordless tools you'll actually see on my channel is my cordless saw, my cordless Sawsmost, there's my cordless sander, cordless screwdriver, cordless planer, and there's the cordless impact gun. And, there are guys out there that sell their push sticks. And I guess there's people that collect them, and that's fine, whatever. But let me just tell you right now, if you're getting into woodworking, if you can't figure out how to make your own push stick, then maybe you should stop with that. Something else you'll never see me do is make a butcher block. And if you need to figure out how to make a square of wood, then, go look for some other channel for that.
Oh, bitch, bitch, bitch.
Okay, this part of the shop, a lot of it's junk, but it's stuff that I kind of go back to and use quite a bit. There's a lot of interesting stuff into here. I keep some screws, just some little hand tools. This is kind of like my area where I keep some stuff, obviously. Then I've got, earplugs, gloves, got the mask. I've got one of these lights. Let's see, garbage bags. Up here is a bunch of wiring and potentiometers and buttons and a lot of, zip ties and, all kinds of stuff like that. This level is from that yellow case that's in the other cabinet. There's just a bunch of stuff in here. I mean, a lot of it is probably useless, but again, it's useful. This little tray is full of Allen keys that aren't completely sorted. And something else too, you can see I've got just old packages of stuff. There's the license plate for the Z, do it for Dale. That was the side of a computer case I did. It was Cobra themed. Then I've got these cars, little Dukes of Hazzard wind back. There's the receiver. We saw some of this in the other episode. Then we've got Indianapolis. This thing I picked up at Target. It's kind of fun. Or not Target, TJ Maxx maybe, I think. And then I've got, a lot of stuff around here. These are what I take apart and then put them into this. Again, I love the bodies of these tapes, and they stopped making them, so I do what I have to do. Now here too, this is a bunch of wiring, solder, butt connectors, computer parts, a lot of fun stuff in there. In here, I can't really open the thing up all the way, but there's gaskets, a lot of stuff for the Z. Same thing in the cabinet here. There's a bunch of stuff for the Z in here. I even have a brand new set of these drills. Brand new. Hasn't even been opened yet. They've been discontinued. and I really wish Menards would create them again. Like I say, this is the only cordless tools I really have in the shop that I used always. And really, again, cordless tools, it's kind of a money scam. You know, you're going to completely replace your tools always. As far as, you know, some of these drawers go here, obviously I have smoke in that drawer, and this is where I keep some of my sealers, Tyvek, paint, and stuff like that. This is my drill bit place, and it looks just like you'd expect all my toolboxes to look. Let's see, what do I got here? This is hardware. I've got, I don't know why this is here, but this is cabinet stuff. Leftover hinges, miscellaneous screws. Here's that lock kit I never did. Underneath, this is my electrical and plumbing department. So I've got just about everything you need to do any kind of electrical and or plumbing project. This is miscellaneous tool parts. You know, they always give you those keys for your grinder. Most of them are in here. Stuff like that, little handles, whatnot. Sandpaper drawer. This is where I keep all my sandpaper. I am a fan of Diablo, so I use the Diablo stuff. And then I have a lot of different, you know, blocks. Sometimes I'll keep these little shapes too, and then I can wrap sandpaper around them. You never know when you need different flavors of sandpaper blocks. Next drawer we have blades, my dado stack, a lot of old blades, you know, inserts for the table saw. This area is my router bit section, and yeah, it's a mess like everything else. Underneath here, this is some of my old concrete stuff that I used to have. I really have no other place to put it, and I don't necessarily use it often, but underneath this cabinet, or underneath the blades and sandpaper cabinet, I have a lot of my old concrete stuff from when I was doing concrete countertops back in the day. And you know, it's grinders, and this is a really fun three-headed machine that polishes concrete, and I can't get the door closed. There we go. In the farthest drawer, or the farthest door here, is just miscellaneous junk, as always. The only thing that's worth anything in this drawer, or in this cabinet, is right here. And this is aluminum roll flashing. And let me tell you, if you DIY anything, get yourself some aluminum roll flash. It's friggin' awesome. Oh, and yes, I'm wearing shop flops. That's just how it is. Something else too, this is usually where I keep my nail guns. Obviously that is a Harbor Freight staple gun, and then just a regular old nail gun. I don't have like a huge attachment to rigid. At one point in my life I did, but they don't make bad tools. Some of the stuff that they have is pretty neat. Now this is underneath. I've got miscellaneous screws, bolts, nuts, drywall guns, belt sander. We got the old dealie, got the Dremel, my biscuit joiner, the little router. You've probably seen it in the other show. My little Master Force dealie that you've seen. I've got my little Wen thing that you probably saw in the other video. Oh, we haven't gone to the upper cabinets. Now, this cabinet in itself is full of shit. Just sprays, PB Blast, some stuff. A lot of this stuff could actually go into the garage. You go into this cabinet. This is where I keep some of my glues and just different nails, fasteners, whatnot. Moving over to the other side, keep biscuits, more spray glue, different bolts, concrete anchors, whatnots. Over into this cabinet, keep a little caulk collection, staples, some mud, just whatever will fit in these drawers. This is a lot of my, you know, I have another Burns-O-Matic, one of these things, the, you know, light your cigarettes with, these. Then I got some Bondos and stuff up here. Some of these are like my trim guns, tap kits, just different stuff like that. Then in these cabinets, it's full of paint and stain. Got a lot of my stains up there, rattle cans, Same thing on the other side. Just more and more. I got just probably about every color you can imagine. And comes in handy. Now back to the bench. I have electric. Now you want to see what I have electric. I actually have 2 designated 20 amp outlets in this area. This guy, I can flip around and it kind of makes like a nice flush. This is just an extension cord, and I can flip it in or out. I flip it usually down when I don't need it. That way dust and stuff doesn't get in there. But the whole bench is kind of wired up to this thing. And I basically took a 4-gang box, threw a couple of 20 amp outlets in there, and oh, my exhaust fan isn't plugged in. That's all right, I'll get it later. It must have happened when I was cleaning up. But this is basically powered on for everything, and if I need any kind of bench power, because again, I don't use cordless stuff really hardly at all, except for the drills and driver, power comes there. The other thing too is I have designated outlets all the way down here. They're behind the saw, and then there's another one even behind the curtain, and they're all daisy chained. It's all one continuous 20 amp outlet. And or actually, I believe I have half of it 20, the other half is 20. The other thing too is, long ago, from an old job site, I took all of this wire trough, and I've got wire trough around this entire perimeter, and everything is 20 amp, and that way I have plenty of power around the bench top. Usually this becomes a catch-all of garbage, but that's just, you know, kind of how it is. You need a place to put stuff when you're here working. So that's just kind of how that works. Behind the bandsaw, there's these little doors. These doors are original. This is underneath the staircase. And I just kind of keep garbage. I got old posters and whatnot in here. I don't really access it too much, but I would like to do something with it. Maybe that might be a great place for me to put all those templates and jigs in. And eventually at some point I want to drywall this wall, even kind of make like a fancy little case for some of my grandfather's stuff. And, you know, maybe even get these doors a little bit better set up. All in due time. There's so much to do in here. And, you know, I know having a shop like this, it kind of evolves and it continues to evolve. And I've had different things laid out. I've actually had these cabinets on this side of the room at one point. I had shelving units over here, different stuff. The lathe used to be back here. I used to keep some of the lumber that was back here over there. And it constantly evolves. It constantly changes. And, you know, eventually, one of these days, I'm going to figure this out. And, you know, you might turn on the channel one day and be like, wow, this place looks awesome. Not likely, but, you know, it's going to eventually happen at some point. Now, taking you back here, this tall thing right here is one of these roll down shades. Now, I used to have it set up in the corner of the paint room where it would bring down a shade to kind of isolate all the paint. It does need to be reworked, so that's why it's over here now. But it worked out really cool. And then too, this is a dashboard from a Buick. And this is eventually going to be used for a fun project, being my racing simulator. Now again, if you look back here, there is just a bunch of miscellaneous metal pieces and some shelving stuff, and again, more wood and just kind of junk. It's stuff that, you know, I hate to throw away stuff because you never know when you're going to need it. And unfortunately, I usually need it. And I hate to go to the store when I have scrap. Something else I have are a bunch of hooks. Now, obviously, these hooks are not mounted. This is a hook I made, and it's a bunch of strips of wood, and just scrap wood, and I made a hook out of it. And I've got a few of these hanging around the shop. I've got these set up around the shop. I even take these. Now, if you do any work in the data section, I cut these guys in half, and I use them for hooks. Now, I was going to put this into the fan video, but then the entire video would have been about hookers and blow, and it's probably not a good idea. Now, I like my signage. If you guys know, I am a huge Nissan fan, which is why I got this Nissan license plate. And I love GTOs. I've always been a GTO fan, even though I owned a Buick. It's because I couldn't afford a GTO. Then you look at some of the faces of the door here. Obviously, we have GTOs. We got a plumb bob. I really love the color of that truck. We saw it World of Wheels. And then I've got, you know, kind of my little shrine. Grandparents, this is my friend Tony, who passed away in a house fire. Then I got a bunch of other fun stuff. And two, if you ever see these are just drawings of stuff that I've done over the years. I mean, you can see that's kind of part of that rosette that I was working on. Tool things my kids made for a long time. More GTOs, more projects. And every one of these, I could probably show you a picture of the corresponding. This does not work. Yeah, that's kind of where the country's at right now. Then I got more stuff here. Obviously, you guys know where that's from. And, you know, big Tony Stewart fan. I do like NASCAR, especially though they've been destroying the sport, but that just, it is what it is. There's a speaker. I pulled these actual out of a ceiling in a place we demoed years ago, and I made DJ speakers out of them. And so I got the pair, but then underneath I have got two subwoofers, and the subwoofers fire straight down. And then, yes, a bunch of cigarette butts. The cigarette butts dance with the bass. It's really neat. This is actually concrete. This is a beer glass. Basically, I was trying to do some experimental with concrete, and that's actually tempered glass that's been shattered and kind of put into the beer. And you can see that's like the head of the beer, and then we try to do beer color, and then just the rim of the glass. It was kind of neat. I was going to turn it into a clock, and I don't know. Like most of my projects, this is just kind of how it goes. More jigs. This is a shelf drilling jig. This is my dowel jig. There's a lot of just crap around here, and eventually at some point I'd like to do something with this area. It's kind of like useless or wasted space actually, so I might build some sort of a fun shelving project here. Some other fun stuff. I was making wood cars, and even made the little wheels. Just another project that never quite got finished. Kind of fun stuff. I was going to turn them into trophies. If you want to see how I made the wheels too, took a paddle bit and carved the shape to make the wheel. Fun, huh? Let's go into this drawer. A lot of garbage, not necessarily. Strap wrench, files, you know, tin snips, extra bits. There's a lot of shit in here. A lot of stuff I use, a lot of stuff I don't use. But it's there when I need it. Now in the back of the wall here is I keep some of these bar clamps, and these were given to me by one of my carpenter buddies. So I keep these here. These do come in handy. I do use them quite a bit as well. Now back to this project, something that you probably didn't even, I kind of glanced over, was these clamps. These are parallel clamps, and they were not just my grandfather's clamps, but the story goes they were my great-grandfather. And he used to be a cabinet maker back in the day. They were passed down to me. I use these probably every single day in the shop. They are so valuable, so nice to have. I know they still make them, but these were, some of them honestly have like the Chicago stamping on them from when they were first bought, you know, made. They're faded. I use the shit out of them. I would never part with them. And like I say, they're great to have. And it's really kind of cool to have something like that in the shop. You know, that kind of has that lineage that does get used. You know, some of this stuff over here does not get used, but these get used constantly, and I love them, and I'm really proud to still have them. But that is it. Thanks for watching. Unfortunately, it's a small shop. It's amazing I'm able to even do what I can do in the shop as it is. But I make do with what I can do, and get the job done at the end of the day anyway, right? That's pretty much what you got to do. So thank you again for watching, and we will see you later. Oh yeah, please remember to like and subscribe. It does help me out quite a bit. We're just a new growing channel. But thanks again for watching, and stick around for some more fun, crazy, wild projects.